Hi, everybody. It's quite wonderful to see you today. As things go these days, I've had to collect a lot of documents and things to kind of prove what I am to certain governments and protectorates around the world. And so in the process of that, I had to fill a lot of forms and stuff like that. I'm going to be trying to read you some of the things that I've had to collect, and as you can see behind me, I'll be filling out this particular form. The form itself is your naturalization application for the US government's involvement. And a lot of relationships come about once you start reading the work and thinking about it conceptually and not just as this thing that you fill out. So I've noticed that my definition is not that great, so I'll be reading for you a little bit. And while I do that, there are sections that I will be skipping pertaining my children that don't exist, my parents who are dead, and my extended family that has also been wiped out. In order to do that, they've asked me to submit the documents that prove those things. So initially, I'll probably be showing them to you this way. These things are not that important that we need to be precious about them, right? I can just make a new identity whenever this one gets removed. I'm gonna try and read these to you, and I'll read them by parts. The first one being part 1, information about your, or in this case, my eligibility. And in order to do this, you have to be at least 18 years of age and one of 4 options. The one that I apply for is have been a lawful permanent resident of the US for at least 5 years. And 5 years ago, I wouldn't think that I would be saying this right now. So, I don't know. The Obama years were okay. I don't know how I feel about these ones. So my employment right now is downtown at a place called EF International. It's an ESL school. I learned it so well, I teach it myself. So now I just go around and tell people, hey, this is the present perfect progressive. Let's learn it. Because that's important. It is downtown, so 122, South Michigan Avenue. For those of you that know the city a little bit, that's across from the Art Institute. So it was nice to go out there and have lunch, the 30 minutes they give me of that a day. So it's in Chicago, it's our town, in the state of Illinois, and our zip code is 60603. As for schools, I went to the University of Texas at El Paso. And those of you that know your geography will know that it's across the pond from Juarez in Mexico, which is where I was born and raised. It was great. I rode my bike internationally every day for about 4 years, and it all culminated one amazing night. The last day I had to be there rolling down the hill because it's mountainous, and a car just struck me out of nowhere. The bike was gone. I made it alive. Bah, could have been worse, I guess. And I know this because I had to send the Mexican government for my scholarship, required that I know the address because I had to send monthly letters telling my government what I was doing in the US. So I wasn't doing anything illegal or anything like that. They just wanted to know what I was doing with all the money they were paying for my education. I wasn't really doing anything much other than studying. And then the other school that I went to, as I've already mentioned, is the School of the Art Institute. Is that his name? Of Chicago. And I know this address as well because I had to do the same thing. 36 South Wabash. And the suite is 1201. For those of us international students, that's a place we too often visit. And it's in Chicago and in the state of Illinois. 60603, I believe. All right, and I know this as well. So I started school on August 24th of 2015, and I graduated, not with honors because SAIC doesn't give any, on May 9th in 2017. And my occupation was fiber and material studies. Badass. All right. Time outside of the US. In my time in the US, I've been lucky enough to travel outside of it. I'm not gonna make you sit through all and every date, but I'll just mention the places that I've been to. And if we read this, how many total days did you spend outside the US during the last 5 years? I've counted them. It was 130, about 4 months over the last 5.5 years. And how many trips, 24 hours or longer, have you taken outside the US during these 5 years? I've taken 6 trips, and they're all to the same place, except for two of them. The first one, most recently, I was in Mexico, in my home city, about 2 months ago, just doing research, nothing important. Before that, I went to Germany, because the Art International, die Kunst, as they say. It was all right. I had a good time, and the art was fun. Before that, however, last year I had to go to Mexico. Somebody in my family got sick. I had to do that. The trip before that, another person had gotten sick, and I had to go to that. The trip before that, my grandmother passed, so I had to go do that. And then before that, I was in Mexico for pleasure and leisure. Sometimes it's nice to go home just to visit, right? So as I'm doing this, things that I think about are how many death certificates am I going to have to collect? Like Pokemon trading cards, because I like Pokemon Go, remember? Anyways, what is my current marital status? I am single, and I've never been married. And it says, if you are single and never married, go to part 11. All right, part 11. So that saves us some jumps ahead. Woo! All right. Information about my children. Guess what? They don't exist. But something that is important to think about is those of us that have had family and how bureaucracy reminds us of that family can be really, or rather, cold in its mentioning of it. So I just want to read this for you. It says, indicate your total number of children. You must indicate all children, including children who are alive, missing, or deceased, children born in the United States or in other countries, children under 18 years of age or older, children who are currently married or unmarried, children living with you or elsewhere, current stepchildren, legally adopted children, and children born where you were not married. So that's a lot of kids to think about for most people. Information about my children, I still don't have any, but I do have a picture of my mom with me as a kid. So you probably can't see this very good. Here's a picture of me, and I think it's really cute because that guy, who am I? Whoop, whoop. Can you see that? That woman, that little girl right there, I never met her, but she's in like 5 pictures in my family. And this is weird because it creates that sort of, for those old enough like myself, that MySpace effect of getting tagged into things that you were not aware of. Facebook was really good at removing that, but MySpace was not. So a lot of my life is around people that I don't know because I was just sent away like a little care package. And that was fun until you have to make documentation of all the things that you're doing. All right, well, still no children, but down here, there's this information about you, the person applying for citizenship. So items 1 to 21, if you answer yes to any of these questions, include a typed or printed explanation or additional sheets of paper. So the point of the game is not to say yes right now, okay? So let's follow along here. Number 1, have you ever claimed to be a US citizen in writing or any other way? Oh, no. Have you ever, never have I ever registered to vote in a federal, state, or local election in the United States. Never have I ever voted in any federal, state, or local election in the United States. Never have I ever had a hereditary title or order of nobility in any foreign country. Mexico did have an empire about 200 years ago and lasted like 30 seconds. The French gave us ideas. If you answered yes, are you willing to give up any inherited titles or orders of nobility? I said no, so that's that. Never have I ever declared to be declared legally incompetent or confined to a mental institution. Okay, so far so good. More information about me. Do you owe any overdue federal, state, or local taxes? Unlike citizens, if you are not one and you fail to report 1 penny, they'll come for you. And they come quite hard and they make your life quite miserable. So no, I don't owe any taxes. Also, I have never filed a federal or state local tax since becoming a lawful permanent resident. I have always filed them, not filed them. Have you called yourself a non-US resident or federal, state, or in a local tax return since you became a lawful permanent resident? No. When you say you're not a non-resident, what you're basically saying to the government is, hey, I'm illegally here. I don't consider myself a member of your society. And that can be problematic for those of us that come from certain countries where we just get followed around for baking the wrong tacos, basically. Never have I ever, or any member of my family, involved in any way or associated with any organization, fund, party, club, society, similar group in the United States or any other location in the world. Basically, do you have relationships? For this, remember, the game is to say no. Here's a picture of me, just because it's getting super depressing, and I'm holding a car. This is my 3rd birthday. This is the first birthday without my parents around. It was super fun. I don't remember it, and I do remember the toy. So I'm kind of wondering what happened to me that didn't happen to the toy. Either way, it's a cute picture, and I thought I'd show it to you because you gotta break the tension here. Additional information, part 12 still. We're 4 pages in. Never have I ever received any type of military or paramilitary training or weapons training. Never have I ever asked to conscript, sign up, enlist, or use any other person under 15 years of age to serve in the help of an armed force group. Well, El Salvador has some questions for you, US. Did you ever use any person under 15 years of age to do anything that helped or supported people in combat? I did not do that. And for numbers 23 to 28, you must answer yes, and if your records have been sealed, expunged, or otherwise cleared, you must present them. Some of those things are here, I guess. Have you ever committed, arrested, assisted in committed, or attempted to commit a crime from which you were not arrested? I buy illegal drugs sometimes, and once I tagged a police car, but I have not been committed. This is recorded, I guess. Come at me, police. I don't know. Never have I ever been arrested, cited, or detained by any law enforcement officer, including immigration official in the U.S. Armed Forces for any reason. Yeah, every time I crossed the border, they were like, what is a guy like you, looking like a punk, going to the University of Texas at El Paso to study God knows what? And I would say, no hablo inglés. And then they would take me to the back and wait about 2 hours. I usually miss my first class after this. Never have I ever been charged with committing or attempting to commit or assisting in committing a crime or offense, not that I know of. Never have I ever been convicted for a crime. Never have I ever been placed in an alternative sentencing or rehabilitative program. Okay, so far so good. We're doing good progress. Never have I ever received a suspended sentence. Never have I ever said yes to that suspended sentence. Never have I ever been in jail or prison, not as an inmate myself, but to visit those around me. So if you answer no to all the questions in the last section, this is the part where you have to tell the government, what did you really mean? What had happened? And it continues. This is page 5 of your personal information. So let's see what they get. We went over genocidal regimes and association with military work environments, which, if you ask me, my work environment seems like a military dictatorship under capitalist regime, but what do I know about these things? I'm just here to make you laugh. Have I ever been a habitual drunkard? No, but that's none of your business. Have I ever been a prostitute or procured anyone for prostitution? Go fuck yourself, is what I have to say to that. Never have I ever sold or smuggled uncontrolled substances, illegal drugs, or narcotics. I'm an artist. Never have I ever been married to more than one person at the same time, but I hear that if I go to Utah, some of us can. Never have I ever married someone in order to obtain an immigration benefit. I wouldn't be doing this. Never have I ever been ordered to be removed, excluded, or deported from the United States. Never have I ever been placed in the process of removal, exclusion, or recession, deportation from the US. Removal, exclusion, rescission, deportation proceedings currently pending against you? No. Never have I ever served in the armed forces, and I pretend to keep that way. Am I currently a member of the US Armed Forces? No. And I did not answer yes to that. And I am not stationed overseas. Never have I ever been court-martialed, administratively separated, disciplined, or have received an other than honorable discharge while in the US Armed Forces. Never have I ever been discharged from training or service in the US Armed Forces. Never have I ever left the US to avoid being drafted in the US Armed Forces. But I might have spurs in my feet. Never have I ever applied for any kind of exemption from military service in the US Armed Forces. And never have I ever deserted from the US Armed Forces. Okay, I think we're done. Psych. This is still part 12, additional information about myself. Okay, let's figure this out. Am I a male who lived in the US anytime between my 18th and 26th birthdays? No. If I answered yes, when did you register for selection service? I did not say that, and I did not answer yes to registering because I'm over 26 now. So, for items 45 to 50, if I answer no to any of these questions, I must type or print an explanation, an additional piece of paper provided, and the evidence to support my answers. So let's see. Okay. Do you support the Constitution and form of government of the United States? Do you understand the full oath of allegiance to the United States? Are you willing to take the full oath of allegiance to the United States? If the law requires it, are you willing to bear arms on behalf of the United States? If the law requires it, are you willing to perform non-combatant services in the US Armed Forces? If the law requires it, are you willing to perform work of national importance under civilian direction? Sure, I'll give you that one. My statement and certification. For this section, I have to choose either item A or B, and I'll read both of you. A, both to you. I can read and understand English, and I have read and understood every question and instruction on this application and my answer to every question. Or B, the interpreter named in part 14, Jesus, there's a part 14, read to me every question and instruction on this application and my answer to every question in a language that I am fluent and I understood completely. So I understand this. Okay. So this is my certification. I can write my signature here. And I don't know the date.
13th.
Okay. Of the 6th month. Okay. This is part 14 for my interpreter. Part 15 for my contact information declaration and signature if somebody else is preparing the application for me. there's a signature that you must do while at the interview. You sit down and they quiz you and then you sign. And then finally, if your application is approved, you will be scheduled for a public oath ceremony, at which time you will be required to take the following oath of allegiance immediately prior to becoming a naturalized citizen. By signing below, you acknowledge your willingness and the ability to take this oath. Can I read this for you? Maybe? It'll take like 30 seconds. I'm a fast reader. I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any other foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen. That I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the U.S. against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law. That I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by the law. That I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required. And that I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose or evasion. So help me God. At the beginning of this, I thought I was going to sign this thing. And then I realized that I'm probably giving up as much as I'm getting back from this. So I'm going to go ahead and sign this and see how the government feels about my answers about it. And once I submit, we'll see where that goes. So join me in signing my naturalization application. My last name is Gonzalez. My first name is Oscar, as we say it. And my middle is Ivan. Here's my signature again. And the date was?
13.
Thank you. All right, I think we're done here.